So, very good noon, everybody. I hope you must have enjoyed the last 2 days, wherever we have versatile dignitaries from various countries, and today we have very eminent scientist from Italy, Dr. Paola Maiglorini. So, I welcome Dr. Paola in this virtual session. So, I hope Paola must have joined. Dr. Paola? Yeah, hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
So,
Hello.
ma'am, as per your convenience, we have scheduled your speech at 14 hours, that is after 30 minutes. So, is it possible for you, or shall we start right now? Because another one session is to be going.
To start now.
Yeah, one practical is actually scheduled at from 13:30 to 14 hours. So, accordingly, we'll just complete the same, and thereafter we'll start your session.
Excuse me, I didn't really understand. You mean to start now or in 30 minutes? Excuse me.
Actually, as per our schedule, today's schedule, one practical is to be conducted first.
It's okay.
Virtual practical is to be conducted from 13:30 hours to 14 hours for half an hour, and after half an hour, we'll just proceed for your lecture. Is it okay?
Can you write it down, please? Excuse me, because it's not 100% clear for me.
We'll start your session after 30 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, 9:30. Okay, my 9:30. Okay, yes.
In 30 minutes finish विचारलं.
5 minutes.
Finish 30 minutes. Yes, after 30 minutes.
Now level is 30.
Okay, झालं ते.
There लिहून पाठवून we'll have one practical right now.
जाऊन ते नको पण सुरू करू.
Okay, चला हे कर. So friends, again very good noon. We welcome Dr. Paola here from Italy. She will be just delivering her lecture after 30 minutes. So first, we will be having practical on use of Trichoderma and other bioagents, and one video clip will be run, and Dr. Yogesh Ingle is there, who will be actually who has a commentary behind this video clip, and you can just have interface with him after watching the video clip. So we'll just sharing the video clip, you just go through the same, and then we'll have a question answer session, and then we'll proceed for the lecture of Dr. Paola.
रिक्वेस्ट करून लागतच ना
त्याचे कोऑर्डिनेटर्स यायचे
हे आहे ना
फॉरेस्ट्री करणार
अजून काय फॉरेस्ट्री
Hello everyone, myself Dr. Yogesh V. Ingle, working as an Assistant Professor of Plant Pathology. Due to realization of adverse effect of imbalance and continuous use of chemical fertilizer and synthetic pesticide, major loss caused in environment. That's why government has failed to promote the integrated plant nutrient and pest management system for sustainable agriculture. In sustainable agriculture, biofertilizer and biopesticide is the major component. So that's why to fulfill the requirement of farmers' need, we established bio-input production laboratory. Here we concentrated that the cost-effective material for mass multiplication of Trichoderma and other biocontrol agents. Among the various types of species of biocontrol agent, Trichoderma widely used against different plant pathogens because Trichoderma species are cosmopolitan and ubiquitous in nature. That means present in all types of agriculture soils and also decaying woods. Trichoderma is very effective biological mean for plant disease management, especially the soil-borne plant pathogen. It is very common in soil and root ecosystem. Several strains of Trichoderma have been developed as a biocontrol agent against fungal diseases of plant. Among the Trichoderma species, most common and widely used are Trichoderma aspergillum and Trichoderma hirsutum. Besides that, Trichoderma hamatum, Trichoderma conengi, Trichoderma virens also used for fungal plant disease management. Now, friend, we have to see here how to isolate Trichoderma from soil. First, collect the soil sample from the well-grown plant root zone at 5 to 25 centimeter depth, and this soil sample subjected in laboratory for serial dilution method. For that purpose, you took 10 gram of soil in 100 ml water and shake 15 minutes vigorously. Then pipette out 1 ml and add 9 ml sterile water. This may consider as a 10 to the power 1. Likewise, such serial dilution we have done up to the 10 to the power 7. This is the graphical representation of a serial dilution method. Here again I shortly mentioned herewith took soil suspension and add 1 ml aliquot in 10 to the power 1 test tube that is contains distilled sterile water. Then put 1 ml from 10 to the power 1 test tube and add to second remaining test tube that contain 9 ml distilled sterile water that consider as a 10 to the power 2. Likewise, up to 10 to the power 6, you have to add 1 by 1 and then 1 ml aliquot pour in already molten Trichoderma medium which previously sterilized and added in a petri plate. After adding or inoculating the 1 ml aliquot in a Trichoderma medium, then this petri plate put in a BOD incubator at room temperature for 3 to 4 days. Then after 4 to 5 days, you observe the green colonies and then pick up the one colony from that petri plate and subject it for Trichoderma identification through morphological characters. While selecting the Trichoderma isolate for mass multiplication, we have select desirable and antagonistic potential Trichoderma isolate for mass scale multiplication. That's having the good qualities means high spurulating, fast growing, and having the antimicrobial compounds. Trichoderma species working in 4 ways. In first one called as antibiosis, and second one is competition, third one is mycoparasitism and prediction, and fourth one is production of cell wall degrading enzyme and chitinase. In particular, antibiosis mode of action, Trichoderma species cause decay of phytopathogenic fungi without any physical contact between microorganisms by producing antimicrobial compounds. In competition,
Trichoderma species and pathogen compete for nutrient and space availability, and in mycoparasitism, Trichoderma species send to the pathogen and come in contact with host, involve morphological changes such as coiling and production aprosorium, which develop on the surface of host and target pathogen. Also, sometimes Trichoderma produce cellulose chitinase enzyme, which are very effective to lysis the pathogen and kill by producing this enzyme. Also, some of the Trichoderma species produce plant growth promoting substances that boost the growth of plant. Earlier, as I mentioned herewith, on the basis of screening, you have selected desirable antagonistic strain of Trichoderma species. In that particular slide, you found out that the antibiosis phenomena of Trichoderma. Here with Trichoderma producing some antimicrobial compound, that's why at the periphery of tested pathogen, ring formation develop. That indicate that this particular Trichoderma strain have the potential of or ability of producing some chemical substances that lyses the pathogen cell wall. That's why the Trichoderma and tested pathogen not contacting each other by physical means. In second slide, we also clearly indicate that Trichoderma producing some chemical substances that produce the ring formation near the pathogen, that is the sclerosium. Such Trichoderma species we have select for further mass production purpose. In third petriplate, we have observed that Trichoderma and Rhizoctonia interaction, in which Trichoderma species fastly grow and restrict the Rhizoctonia growth and development, that indicate the hyperparasitism and competition phenomena of Trichoderma. Such isolate also useful for control soil-borne pathogen and preparation of formulation. In this slide, we clearly observe that antibiosis and hyperparasitism phenomena. Trichoderma produce certain antagonistic chemical that produce the barrier between tested pathogen and Trichoderma. This also we have observed that the hyperparasitism phenomena means certain mycelia of Trichoderma interact with Sclerotia mycelia, and this strain is having the potential of hypoparasitism and antibiosis phenomena. Such species most useful for preparation of mass scale cultivation of Trichoderma. So I advise all the participants, while going to the mass multiplication of Trichoderma, you have to select the desirable, effective and antagonistic potential species for mass scale production. For large scale multiplication, we have adopted most of the time liquid fermentation method, and for that method we have used molasses and yeast for large scale production. Mix 30 gram of molasses in and add 5 gram yeast in 1 liter of water. Shake well, then sterilize this medium at 121 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, and after cooling, inoculate in this medium 8 mm mycelial disc of Trichoderma. Then incubate this medium for 10 days at room temperature. After 10 days, you have got a very good growth of Trichoderma, and this inoculum should be used for further multiplication and also used in field by means of different methods of application. Second method is the preparation of formulation. For that purpose, mix the 100 ml fungal biomass of Trichoderma grown in fermenter along with growth medium and add in 1 kg top powder. Air dry this medium and add carboxymethyl cellulose at the rate 5 gram per kg of the product as a sticker. And such air dried carrier-based material stored in a polythene bag and used as a commercial formulation. This is the easiest method for preparation of talc-based formulation of Trichoderma. At Center for Organic Agriculture Research and Training, we have developed certain cost-effective mass production of Trichoderma methods with slight modification. These are the 4 methods we have adapted here with for mass scale cultivation of Trichoderma. First one is on-farm jaggery or sugar pulse flour medium. Second one is jaggery medium. Third one is sorghum grain medium as a solid state fermentation. And third one is very effective cow dung cake medium. One by one, we have presented here with on practical basis how prepare the Trichoderma at on-farm level by using very cheap and cost-effective material. The first method is on-farm jaggery or sugar pulse for medium. First, take 50-liter capacity plastic barrel and pour clean water. Then add 1.5 kg sugar. You may also add jaggery. Then add only 250 gram chickpea flour as a protein base for Trichoderma and mix thoroughly to avoid the clumps in water. Then add 125 ml stock solution of Trichoderma in each plastic bag. After adding 125 ml mother culture of Trichoderma, keep this solution at stationary phase for 8 to 10 days. After 8 to 10 days, we have got a very good growth of Trichoderma. Within a short span, we have observed ample quantity of Trichoderma. In this method, we have produced 10 to the power 8 to 10 to the power 13 CFU count. This mass multiplied Trichoderma may use for drip application and also use as a furrow application, root zone application and spraying purpose. Second method is very cost effective, that is jaggery medium. Here we took 50 gram jaggery and add in 250 ml of water. Then dissolve this ingredient very well. After dissolving the ingredient, insert the cotton plug on the mouth of conical flask and keep that flask in autoclave for sterilization. This medium sterilized at 121 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. After sterilization, bring out the culture media. Then, with the help of laminar airflow cabinet, liquid medium pour into the previously sterilized plastic tray. And all this procedure will be carried out in laminar airflow cabinet under aseptic condition. You may also add 6 mm dish of Trichoderma in shade medium, but here we use sterilized plastic tray for mass production because It will provide the large surface area and reduce the span of mass multiplication. With the help of inoculating needle, take 1 bit of trichoderma from pure culture stand and add in plastic tray containing jaggery medium. Then, with the use of plastic paper, cover the tray and tie with the help of rubber band to avoid the aerial contamination. And put that tray at room temperature or maybe in BOD incubator at 25 degrees Celsius temperature. Within 4 to 5 days, we got luxuriant mycelial mat of Trichoderma species on jaggery medium, and this may use for preparation of talc-based formulation or liquid-based formulation. This is the cheapest and cost-effective method for mass multiplication of Trichoderma. And third method is sorghum grain medium. This is the solid-state fermentation method widely used for mass multiplication of Trichoderma. For that purpose, took the sorghum grain, then dextrose, then water, then autoclavable polythene bag. Take 1 kg sorghum grain and add 950 ml distilled sterile water in 1 kg sorghum grain. Then also add 20 gram dextrose. In place of dextrose, you may also use 20 gram of sugar and stir this and keep this material for overnight to soak the water quantity. After soaking this sorghum grain medium, put in a autoclavable polythene bag for sterilization at 151 lab pressure for 15 minutes. After cooling, open the lid of autoclave and take out the sterilized autoclavable bag, and with the help of airflow laminar cabinet, add this sterilized sorghum grain medium into the previously sterilized plastic tray. Here, friends, you may also use for inoculation of the trichoderma in plastic autoclavable bag, but here we use plastic tray. As earlier I mentioned here, this provides the more surface area and fast growth with a short span of time. After adding the medium in plastic tray with the help of sterilized inoculating needle, put small bit of Trichoderma mother culture from culture slant and inoculate the medium and mix it well. And to avoid the aerial contamination, cover the plastic paper on a plastic tray. This method widely used for production of powder formulation of Trichoderma species. Keep this tray at room temperature for 5 to 6 days or maybe store at BOD. After 5 to 7 days of incubation, we have observed the wonderful growth of Trichoderma on sorghum grain medium. Remove the cover of this sorghum grain medium and whatever the mass produced Trichoderma used for powder formulation or spot application in field and also in spraying purpose. Fourth and easiest method for preparation of Trichoderma is cow dung media. In this method, you have to take Trichoderma mother culture, then clean water, then 2 gunny bag and select approximately 5 kg cow dung cake. For uniform growth of Trichoderma, break that cow dung cake in small pieces. After breaking the cow dung cake in a small pieces, gently sprinkle the little amount of water on cow dung cake to maintain the optimum moisture. After sprinkling water, add only 100 ml mother culture of Trichoderma on 5 kg cow dung cake uniformly. Then cover the cow dung cake with the help of another gunny bag and gently sprinkle water again on covered gunny bag to maintain the optimum moisture. After 8 to 10 days of inoculation, we have got a small amount of growth of trichoderma on cow dung cake. This cow dung cake we have to mix in field by broadcasting and also incorporate the compost peat for mass scale cultivation of trichoderma. These are the some easiest and cost-effective method for mass production of trichoderma. We have adapted here with slight modification. Thank you very much for listening.
So thank you very much, Yogesh. Now I request Yogesh, because there are so many questions in chat box, because more than 400 participants are there, but we have selected 3-4 because we will be having another lecture from Dr. Paula. So we'll have 3-4 questions. So I request Yogesh to answer the questions raised by participant, please.
First question asked by R.K. Motukia. He has asked how to register Trichoderma in CIB. This is the very I can call is a very lengthy method, because first you have to isolate your own Trichoderma isolate, then go for DNA fingerprinting, then subject it for their toxicological data. Some of the agency have ready with toxicological data. For example, in India, NCL Pune having the toxicological data of that particular strain of Trichoderma, and with the help of toxicological data and screening trial at least 3 zones across the country must required for registration of Trichoderma. This is the most important thing for registration of Trichoderma in CIB. First one is their toxicological data, and second one is their DNA fingerprinting data, and third one is multi-location data at least for 3 years. Second question asked by Nivas, from where we can collect Trichoderma starter for mass multiplication. At your location, it may be having any agriculture university or any agriculture research station, and in particular India, there is a ITCC center, means Indian type culture collection, IRA New Delhi, having a good collection of Trichoderma strain, and also having a MTCC center, means microbial type culture collection, located at Ludhiana. They also provide Trichoderma strain to respective person, and if you contact our center, we also ready to provide this strain.
Okay, thank you very much, Yogesh. Friends, because 2-3 people have raised their hands, but now because of time constraints and the Paula is already joined the meeting, so I'm just moving to the lecture by Dr. Paula. So Paula, can you hear me, please? Yeah, Dr. Paula, please.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Hello.
So now we are moving to your lecture. So first of all, I would like to welcome you at Dr. PDKV Akola, Maharashtra, province of India. So ma'am, this university was established on 20th October 1969, and we are working particularly in rain-dependent agriculture. We are having 19 research stations spread in 11 districts of Vidarbha region. Similarly, this university covers more than 10 constituent colleges, and we are imparting education, particularly graduate, postgraduate, and doctoral studies in various disciplines. Secondly, we are having dominant cropping system with cotton, soybean, pigeon pea in Kharif season, that is in June to September, and thereafter Rabi season, that is winter, which consists of wheat and chickpea particularly. While in horticultural system, we are dominant in citrus species, particularly because most of the area is under citrus. thereafter custard apple. So, but in this regard, university has developed more than 1600 technologies for field crops as well as for fruit crops. Then we have developed more than 20 farm implements, which is very adopted, mostly adopted by the farmers in this particular region. We have very diverse climatic conditions, that is 45 degrees Celsius in summer and just 5 degrees Celsius in winter. Apart from this, we are having assured rainfall, 780 millimeter per year, but it is undistributed, and that's why we are facing consistent dry spell every year. So accordingly, considering the heavy decline in nutrients and the carbon in soils, we have developed so many technologies, and we are moving towards the organic agricultural practices, because the oxidation of carbon is the major challenge for this region. So that's why, considering your versatile expertise and your dynamic personality, we have invited for this particular lecture, and definitely I am very much delightful here that you have accepted this invitation and you are sparing your valuable time. So again, we are having another agroecology and environment center at our university, and Dr. Anita Chore, which is just adjacent to me, she is the director for this particular center, and she will be just chairing and coordinating this particular lecture. Apart from this, Dr. Harshavardhan Deshmukh is there, who is assistant professor at College of Forestry. One College of Forestry is also here, because around 33% area in this region is under forest. And Miss Sangeeta Savatkar, she is also a coordinator for this particular session. So at this juncture, I again welcome you, and I am just handing over my mic and dais to Dr. Anita Sore, please.
Hello, welcome Paula. Very good to see you here. Because basically what I understand, organic agriculture must be related with agroecology first. And looking at your versatile expertise in this subject, I would like to introduce you to all my fellow participants who are going to hear you. So, Paula, she is basically working as assistant professor in agronomy, but having hands-on work as in Master of Agroecology, Educational Garden Project. Basically, she is a course leader in agroecology and food sovereignty in Europe, and she is having handsome amount of research papers published in so many research journals. So we all are very eager to hear you. You can proceed, please.
Okay, thanks a lot, and good afternoon. For me, it's morning. Do you hear me? Do you hear me well?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, please carry on.
Okay, so thanks a lot for this invitation. I'm honored. I know that my speech was foreseen the first day. Unfortunately, I was not able due to my training program at my university. So thank you for the reorganization. And anyhow, yeah, I will give, let's say, a broad overview about the principle and the practice of organic and agroecology and the interlink of those two approach. So the idea is to share with you in general the linkages between modern challenges and systemic approach, and also diets, because organic and agroecology have a broad overview about the systems. Then I will explain briefly the agroecology principle and practice, some organic agricultural approach, because I know that you already had very technical detailed information, but it's also good to have again a reconnection about the principle and the approach. If there is time, I would like to share with you also detail differences between, in particular, regulation about organic and agroecology. And again, if there is time, also some agroecological practices in details. Okay. So I'm going to start. I will try to be in the 1 hour, and if there are also question and answer for me, I'm really happy to share with you to discuss. So in general, according to IPES Food, that is International Panel Expert of Food Sovereignty and Food in 2016, we are facing 4 main global, worldwide challenges. From one side is the growing population. On the other side, more and more the urbanization and aging of population compared to rural and farming population. We have still a very high unfairness in the food system, in particular the two sides of food, let's say, deficiency from one side, so in particular micronutrients deficiency. On the other side, the big problem about obesity and overweight, that is more than the the unsecure food people, and several chronic disease that is very linked with food and diets, so lifestyle, that are diabetes, osteoporosis, cancer, and cardiovascular disease that have a very important relationship, some of them with food. In general, moreover, our food system is very, we have, let's say, the false opinion that we have choice, but actually there is a quite large domination between on big company. And what it is evidence already since many studies, big studies, maybe I put this larger so you see better, that we are behind the system planet boundaries, in particular for nitrogen and biosphere, so biodiversity. What is also that is somehow make our food system and the food supply, the agro-food system, very changed from the traditional, is that it's not anymore a circular economy, but it is a linear. So there is a input and output approach in the food system, where large scale farm and that are only 30% compared to the 70% smallholder somehow dominate the market. And so we have a concentration about food, commodity and traders, and as well as input like fertilizer and seed. So there is still big, let's say, unfairness in the food system. What is most difficult today is the global warming, and in general the CO2 emission. So there is a I don't know if you see it. Okay. So there is a huge increase in the last 20, 15 years of CO2 billion tons in the atmosphere. At the moment, in particular by China and United States, but also, of course, Europe and other Asia country. India, not more or less compared to Europe. And, oh, sorry. Okay. And the effect of those CO2 emission was the rise of global temperature of roughly 1 Celsius degree. So our average temperature is hotter than 100 years ago, of 1 Celsius temperature. And agriculture, that should be the unique human activity that can absorb carbon through carbon sequestration, actually is the one that also emits, in particular, methanes and nitrous oxides through fermentation, enteric fermentation of concentration of livestock, as well as tillage and new agricultural soil. So, for example, in Europe, our statistics says that agriculture contribute to greenhouse gases emission about 10%. And it's, of course, a nonsense, because agriculture should, on the other hand, absorb carbon. The scenario for future environment is even worse, because what the International Panel on Climate Change already said 6 years ago was the future scenario is very bad. So if we change completely our lifestyle and approach, the temperature will increase only 2.6 Celsius degree more. If we keep business as usual, the rise of the temperature will be even 8.5 Celsius degree. So it will be in both cases very negative, but of course the 8.5 scenario is something that it's tragic for the whole world. We have also threats about soil. This is a focus in particular in Europe, but everywhere, as well as an increase of pesticides, let's say contamination in food and in food in particular, final food, and a decrease of biodiversity at different levels. This is the bird index that has been decreased. This is another very important paper that published on PLOS that says that 75% over the 27 years, also in protected areas. So the approach of protecting, of creating green parks is not effective if we don't change agricultural approach in the agricultural area, okay? And yeah, there are more paper about this. And in general, in the agricultural approach in the last, again, with the Green Revolution, we lose our agrobiodiversity. This is a picture from potatoes. This is a picture about apple, 86%, or corn and maize, as well as vegetables and other products. So the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal have published the 17 goal for sustainability, and food is somehow in the center of all of them. So if we have a point of view from the biosphere, so environmental sustainability, then social sustainability till economic sustainability, food involve all of them and touch all of them. So I start from the end, so from diets to then go through agroecological practices. This is a paper published some years ago by a colleague of mine from Cornell University in US. They made a scenario where they said, okay, the total US population, we developed 10 scenario where from top they eat baseline, let's say, somehow junk food, no, or anyhow the food intake that is with commodity food. Then there is another scenario, the pause, so they have they reduce some sugar. Then the omnivore 100 is a healthy omnivore, so they comply the dietary guidelines, including some fresh. Then omnivore 80, they reduce some animal and become ovo-lacto vegetarian. Then omnivore 60, and so on and so forth, until the vegan, no? So they exclude all livestock products. So there are 10 scenarios where the animal production reduce their percentage in the diets. And this is the result about the carrying capacity. So how many hectares a person would need per year in order to produce that food. And we see clearly that a baseline scenario will need more than 1 hectare per person. In the opposite, in a vegan scenario, one person needs only 0.13 hectares per year. This is clear to show that there is a very strong relationship when we say who is the agriculture, what kind of agriculture we need to produce more to feed the world. This question, of course, is interlinked to the lifestyle, and in particular in our diets. Okay, so this is something evident. Another very important paper published in Nature 2 years ago did something similar, but this time looking at different diets and CO2 emission. And again, it's clear that the baseline diets produce more carbon cost than, for example, a ovo-lacto vegetarian or a vegan one. On the other hand, we know that, of course, animal manure is very important in organic, and I will stress this in a minute. Another paper I would like to show you is the relationship between diets and somehow land occupation, and we have the same trend that we saw before, greenhouse gases, but also the energy. And what is more important is that if we include in our diets a certain percentage of organic or origin products, the cost in terms of energy, the cost in terms of greenhouse gas, as well as land occupation decrease. So the more we have organic component in our diet, in this scenario there are three. There are low uptake of organic in the diet, 0.3, a medium 0.20, and a high 0.60. The amount of cost in terms of greenhouse gases, energy, and land occupation decrease. And finally, FAO some years ago, 2 years ago, published a very important paper where they made a scenario where the whole planet was feeding with organic food intake, and the result is that it's possible, so it's not a problem about quantity. The most limiting factor are somehow nitrogen in the soil, due to the fact that we don't use any chemical nitrogen fertilizer and urea. So the soil in general is very poor of nitrogen, and so we have to work carefully about organic intake and humus in the soil. On the other hand, we have, of course, to adjust our diet, shifting from meat and dairy to more leguminous crop and let's say diversified diets. FAO in 2010 defined sustainable diets as those diets with low environmental impacts, which contribute to food and nutrition security, to health life for present and future generation, that are protected for biodiversity, ecosystem, culturally acceptable, accessible, economically fair and affordable, because of course we don't want to produce a system that is, let's say, that costs too much and only the high society can access. Now should be accessible for all people. One example of sustainable diets is Mediterranean diet, but of course is not the unique model. There are many other, but at the bottom of the pyramids, there is the lifestyle. So regular physical activity, conviviality, biodiversity, tradition, and culinary activity, so gastronomy. And at the top, there are the sugar and the red meat and processed meat. With the COVID emergency, it's even more clear, at least for me and for my colleague, that that crisis is anyhow even more evidence of industrial agriculture crisis that produce habitat loss and create the condition also for the virus to emerge. All zoonotic spillover in the recent pandemics, including AIDS, Ebola, the SARS, and other, are rooted in environmental change and ecosystem disturbances. So what is our role today is to improve our planet into an ecological approach. Okay, after this broad introduction, I would like to discuss what is agroecology. Agroecology is not a new term. Of course, in traditional agriculture, maybe it was not named agroecology, but there are, of course, in peasant and in indigenous agriculture, the concept is very, very clear. On the other hand, if we look at published paper and books, already in the 1929, there was the first German book. More recently, let's say, we consider somehow father of agroecology in the scientific approach, Miguel Altieri from Berkeley University and Stephen Gleesman from Davis University. Anyhow, is considered the application of ecological concept and principle to agro-ecosystem. But more recently, Chuck Francis and other let's say the more recent, so 2003 paper, show that agroecology is the integrative study of the ecology of the entire food system, encompassing ecological, economic, and social dimensions. So generally, is not anymore at field and farm level, but it includes the dimension of food system. FAO, with the lead of coordination of Caterina Batello in Rome, developed since 2014, and then with the final symposium in Rome in 2018, very important worldwide movement. They did several workshops to foster and develop agroecology worldwide, and they are defining agroecology with those 10 elements. So agroecology is based, it roots in diversity, co-creation of knowledge and sharing, synergies and efficiency, recycling, resilience, human and social value, culture and food tradition, responsible governance, as well as circular and solidarity economy. The year after, the HLPA, that is the International Panel of Experts for Food Security, with FAO and other international organization, published in 2019 a very new important document that define agroecology. And in that paper, also a colleague of mine, that is Alexander Wetzel, that took part in this panel, define agroecology according to 13 principles. And the principles are recycling, input reduction, soil health, animal health, biodiversity, synergies, economic diversification, co-creation of knowledge, social value and diets, fairness, connectivity, land and natural resource, and participation. So it's clear that we are not talking only about ecological dimension in agroecosystem, but of the fifth dimension of sustainability, so also social and political at food level. As you know, some years ago, we have founded a European Association for Agroecology that is called Agroecology Europe, in particular to influence the European CAP and policy in Europe. Although, let's say, agroecology had a more strong development and movement approach from South America, but still we thought that it was the right moment for Europe to push in that direction. So in this association, we have we have given our understanding of agroecology, that is considered jointly a science, a practice, and a social movement for the whole food system. So it's important to facilitate knowledge sharing and action. So as a science, it gives priority to action research, holistic and participatory approach, transdisciplinary and different knowledge system. As a practice, it's important to focus on local renewable resource, farmer knowledge again, improve and use of biodiversity to provide ecosystem services and resilience, and as a movement to develop basically food sovereignty and rural community. In this graph, it is anyhow explained these main elements of agroecology. And of course, also as a university, I am researcher and teacher at the university in a master program and in the undergraduate. Of course, the education approach is very important. So it's very important to develop participatory transdisciplinary approach where all the discipline can dialogue and so to create space for dialogue and new knowledge. So what are the paths? So in order to do transition in agroecology. Now we know that agroecology is not defined as a, let's say, there is not a law or a standard as it is for organic, but is more an approach. Okay, so in order to develop this approach and improve resilience, stability, and sustainability in the food system, generally, there is those three steps. So from at the first level, there is an improvement of efficiency. Then the second level of the layers, let's say, is the input substitution approach to reach the system redesign approach, and I'm going to explain this in a minute. Stephen Gleesman, in his book of 2007, have developed these 5 levels for transition pathway to transform with agroecology to improve sustainability. The first 3 levels are at agroecosystem level. So through agroecological practices, we can somehow reduce external input, reduce environmental damage, so become more efficiency. At the second level, there is the input substitution approach. So we change the chemical input with organic input. But the third level is the system redesign. So the agroecosystem is redesigned, is rebuilt in order based on diversity at all levels. Before, you were talking about Trichoderma. So the interaction of microorganisms, so at a very little scale, till the whole landscape of the farm. Okay, so all scales are useful and should be improved in diversity in order to apply the transition and improve resiliency in the system. But there are also other 2 levels at food system approach. One is the reconnection of different, let's say, between consumer and producer. So in order to develop alternative food networks and not to refer to the, would say, worldwide and in standard markets. And the 5th level is to look for a global food system based on participation, fairness, and justice. So it implied a political dimension. Just as an example, why agroecology point also the food system level, because also the market and the way we consume food have an impact, for example, in CO2 emission. In this paper, there is an analysis done by Sant'Anna, Pisa, by my colleague, Professor Paolo Barberi, where they analyze 4 production systems, so integrated, organic, conventional, with 5 handling repair systems. So it is extra-regional, packed and selling to the supermarket, till the local, unpacked and box scheme. Okay, so you see that the bottom part, so the integrated agriculture, that means with an improved efficiency of use of chemicals in the greenhouse, but sell with extra regional, with a packaging, and in the supermarket have the highest emission of CO2. The lowest is the opposite, organic in the field, sell regionally, local, unpacked with box scheme. Okay, so why this is the reason why it's important, okay, to talk about food system and not just at farm boundaries. This is an old but still very valid slide from Professor Miguel Altieri, where there is this approach, from integrated pest management till input substitution till system redesign. There is also the relationship between yield and biodiversity. So at the beginning of the conversion, there is a slight diminishing of yield, and I will give in a minute data. Then there is the initial organic input substitution approach, but then with system redesign, the biodiversity at farm level increase again all the synergies in the system, and in general, agroecological organic farm, when the farmer is very skilled, they manage to produce comparable yield to conventional farming. This is the result. This is another slide from IFOM Training Center, Organic Center, that explain, I use it with my student. Of course, maybe you don't need it, but it's just to explain that, let's say, within sustainable approach, at the moment, the only certified and labeled agriculture are organic and biodynamic approach. So both of them are under the umbrella of agroecological principle, of course. The integrated approach is more improve efficiency, as I said. This is, I skipped. Okay, but as in reality, box does not exist. It's more no, affluent, is not so easy to create no boundaries. So in this slide from Bochum University in Austria, we see that there are a mix no, of different approach from the very left industrial agriculture with GMO, green revolution, input driven, till the opposite, peasant farming, that are organic by default. Maybe they are not certified, but they are agroecological in the full sense, okay? This is what will be the future scenario. This is maybe refer more to CAP and European, but it's also a discourse for your country. So at the moment, we can go from one side to agro-industrial intensification, that means anyhow an homogeneous large field, mainly also devoted to energy production. So we somehow we stolen field that are dedicated for rural and food production for energy, or a real transition to agroecological intensification, where the connectivity of the system due to field margin, crop rotation, the presence of animals no, in a extensive way, so that the diversification is much higher and the synergy is much higher. And those two scenarios are a lot driven by politics and subsidies, and so for example in European Union by CAP. Why is important the connectivity and the biodiversity? Because we know from ecological studies that the landscape, the more diverse it is the landscape and less homogeneous, the highest ecosystem services they can provide, and they provide habitat and ecological niche for a higher number of species. Okay, so includes the bioma in the soil, so the microorganism. Okay, the more the farm is homogenized, the less are the biodiversity correlated, not only the agrobiodiversity, but also the correlated one. And for example, this is a traditional polyculture agroforestry farms where we have, for example, gardening activity for production of vitamins in the diets and fresh fiber. Then some cereal, agroforestry for fruit, timber, leaves, shadows, and so on and so forth. Some animals, but in an extensive way with the permanent pasture. So the permanent meadows are very, very important, as well as windbreak row of local trees, for example. Okay, this is I skipped. Okay, in the integrated pest management, there is generally is considered the first step now to address some efficiency, some reduction of chemical pesticides. Then the second step is the organic input substitution approach. This is a picture from California organic field of strawberry, where actually there is organic management with organic manure. On the other hand, the diversity is not high, and the dimension of the field, as well as the biodiversity surrounding the field, is not high. So this has happened also, for example, in the area where I live now, that is near Lange, or anyhow in many other places in Europe. For example, the vineyard, it's basically a monocrop, so it's very difficult. So we have to diversify also place where apparently organic and in general agriculture are very high quality standard and produce also good economic value to the farmer. On the other hand, they are not so resilient, because could be, and very often it happens, that one single species pest or pathogens arrive and can destroy the whole agro-ecosystem. Why? Exactly because we know from ecology, from pest population density, and these entomologists know very, very well, that a pest that arrive in a homogeneous environment can develop, now the population size can develop high level because they have a lot to eat and a lot to reproduce. So they have a good climate, good environment, good food to increase their number in pest density. And what we need to do is to reduce let's say, to reduce the pest population, increasing the food web. So the pressure of the pest to be controlled by natural enemies. Okay, here again we are in a organic, but is a very homogeneous field. The same here we are in an organic field in South Spain, where there is no much diversity. So what I was saying when we talk about step to develop agroecological approach, this maybe scheme can support us. It is developed by Pablo Tittonel, a professor of agroecology. He was coordinator of the in Wageningen University. So from the current system that we can call it conventional anyhow, conventional agriculture, the first step is to improve eco-efficiency with somehow regulation or optimization of the system. Then we enter into the organic domain of input substitution approach, because of course it's a very critical step, and it takes a lot of time, sometimes 3, 4, 5 years for the farmer to change approach and to change to restart again, looking at the soil, at the ecosystem, at the insect, at the pathogen. So it's completely new approach. But to go into the system redesign is not the law or the subsidies that can develop. We need territorial development and coevolution of social movement. So we need a more large community to improve the whole area. So the approach now in Europe are very welcome the district, biodistrict. So province where farmers can create connection in order to somehow develop knowledge, share information, and also product and economic. Okay. Briefly, you probably you have done already in your previous course, teacher anyhow. Organic idea developed relatively new, but the origin is already more than 100. One of the pioneer was the biodynamic approach of Rudolf Steiner, that create some very interesting, let's say, insight. And then Pfeiffer and Alex Podolinsky in Australia and in Germany develop much more. And today Demeter is still certified and recognized inside the let's say organic domain. There is a very important focus about compost, so the transformation of manure into humus, that is the stable form of organic matter for the soil. And I must say that organic farmer do this very carefully with a lot of care that are not always found in all organic farm. And then there is, of course, the specific preparation approach, with dynamization and the 501 and 505, but I'm not talking now, but just to explain that there are not a specific approach. Then for the organic movement in Europe, we refer a lot to Sir Albert Howard, the founder, together with Lady Balfour, of the Soil Association in England, that have a very strong relationship with India, because he spent 25 years and the indoor method, and then he published the Agricultural Testament. So I'm also excited to talk with you, because of course for me it has a lot of meaning. And another pioneer was Masanobu Fukuoka, the father of natural farming in Japan, and he was the author of One Straw Revolution. So basically his idea is very agroecological, that say that basically his philosophy is that nature produces much more and better than human can do. So no ploughing, no fertilizer, no weeding, no pesticides, even organic. Then there are other let's say other inspiration and pioneer. In Swiss, we have Peter Rush and Hans Müller. In France, the agronomists Lemaire and Boucher. And in US, Jerome Irving Rodale, that founded the Rodale Institute, still very active. Where he put in practice the idea of Sir Albert Auer reading his book. And then for example, another evolution after Fukuoka was the Bill Mollison permaculture book, after Bill spent some time in the farm of Fukuoka. So there are many different, let's say, point of view. All of them were included into IFOAM that was founded in 1972, and they published in 1980 the first international standard that was applied in many countries. So the basic idea is that an organic farm have an ecological, and social approach. The disease control is based on biodiversity and natural system, the fertilization on crop rotation, green manure, organic input, and the research system is at farm level. It's not in lab, and is not in plots, but it's the real farm. This is I skipped, and this is a quote. I don't know. I hope it's not. So when the tractor can be milked, when it's done, can be used as fertilizer and fuel, I will prefer to the cow. Just to say that animal should not be at all considered as a bad part of the farm, but in organic farm is very important because they produce manure, and they, in the ecological approach, they force somehow the farmer to produce, to have permanent grass and permanent meadow, so to have very often leguminous crop, okay, that close the cycle of nutrition. In these slides, fast, is the development of organic movement from the early 1920 with the pioneer till the 70s, 80s, 2000 with the private standard and the public recognition. And now IFOAM, I'm also vice president of IFOAM Agrobio-Mediterranean, so the Mediterranean group of IFOAM. There is an approach about a rethink, or anyhow, the importance of farming system for ecologically sound, economically viable, social just, cultural diversity, and transparency. So organic production is not just for the market, okay? Have a very important ethical approach. So those are, again, the founder. Then, yeah, the development in Europe, but maybe you are not. This is the European website for organic farming, and in the law of European, in the European law of organic, that was the first worldwide that developed this certification and production of code of production. That was the 21 July 1992. And for example, the first label was organic production is an overall system of farm management and food production that combines best environmental practice, high level of biodiversity, preservation of natural resource, application of high animal welfare standard, production methods in line with the preference of certain consumer to produce product, and natural process. The organic production method thus provides specific market responding to consumer demand for organic product, but on the other hand, delivers public goods contributing to the protection of the environment, animal welfare, and rural development. What does it mean? It means that by law, organic do not only satisfy the needs of so-called hedonistic consumer, put it in this way, but also the consumer that do not buy organic, because producing organic, farming organic means to provide public goods. So CO2, carbon absorption and sequestration, animal welfare, biodiversity, as well as rural development. You know that I know that you know already the practice, so I don't organic practice also needed. Then there was later on in 2000 the national organic standard in US that is very similar to the European. There are little difference about specific, for example, copper or manure and so on and so forth. In 2007, IFOAM published the new definition of organic farming because, again, after the pioneer and the recognition, there was the need of a new, what does it mean organic farming today? And so the definition is organic agriculture for IFOAM. Organic agriculture is a production system that sustains the health of soil, ecosystem, and people. That basically is the definition of sustainability. It relies on ecological process, biodiversity, cycle adapted to local condition rather than the use of inputs with adverse effect. Organic agriculture combines tradition, innovation, and science. So for me, this is very interesting because it should be a mix of, transdisciplinary. The principle I skipped. Anyhow, again, in Adelaide, in IFOAM Adelaide General Assembly, we voted for the 4 principles of agroecology, so principle of health, principle of ecology, principle of fairness, and principle of care that should guide the standards. And here I quote 3 papers that were published, let's say 7 years ago already. So there are 3 very important papers about meta-analysis. So those authors in different period and looking at different database, they selected in each of these paper, let's say 250, 300 published paper, scientific published paper that had data about yield. They made a second level, so a meta-analysis of those data, and they publish the result comparing organic and conventional yield. And in these 3 papers, in the first one, Ponti et al. In 2012, published in Agricultural System, they show that the yield can be -20, but sometimes also +20. So it depends on the condition. The second one, Bennett and Frankel, can organic and resource conservative agriculture improve livelihood? Published International Journal of Agricultural Sustainability. They found that in developed countries, so let's say in the north of the world, more or less organic and conventional have the same yield, similar, but in developing country, organic can improve, can produce more, in particular in dry areas or when there is some very strong climatic problem, or anyhow, hindering force. And the third, Seufert et al., they also found some differences, -5, +30, according to the pedoclimatic and agroecological conditions. So just to say that, of course, it depends also on the local site condition and on the ability of the farmer to apply the practice. I'm going to maybe conclusion. So this is an example of different, for example, this is Sechem, the biodynamic farm near Cairo that transformed from the 70s till today the environment from a dry and compacted soil into a good soil with a lot of diversity. This is my experience in Tuscany. I have run for 8 years. I coordinated, the research station that my professor Concetta Bazzana developed. Is the longest long-term experiment in South Europe because it started in 1991 and it's going on till now. There is my colleague, Professor Pascini, that is now leading it. And we are gathering data for 25 years, let's say, comparing an organic system integrated and conventional. And in the last 10 years, the integrated was converted into organic and the organic is converted into biodynamic. So we are now comparing different systems and we publish several data about this that if you are interested, I can send it to you. Another comparison worldwide has been done by Reganol in 2015 published in Nature Plants, where again he summarized 300 papers, something like that, and he compared different issues, not only yield, but also soil quality, energy, biodiversity, water pollution, profitability, cost, ecosystem services, employment, pesticides, and quality, comparing conventional and organic. And it's clear, it's evident in this spider diagram, or call it flower diagram, that all the different characteristics are higher, better in organic. The only one that is less, it's the yield. You see, the yield, the flower, is less optimal in organic than in conventional, but not too much, okay? Anyhow, there is a difference in yield. This is what I said before about livestock and the importance of livestock. So in particular in nitrogen and in organic, in carbon, organic carbon cycle, livestock play a very important role. So there is no, it's very important in agroecology to have animal in the farm, because the nitrogen cycle become much more feedback, much more organic. In the right picture from this paper, you find that there is crop residues return to the soil, and so there is more circular, let's say, economy than linear. So there is less input and output, but more circular. Final, I would like to talk also about quality of organic food. So this aspect is the most recent one in scientific evidence. Anyhow, we can say that organic products have less pesticide residues and less nitrates, more dryomas, less antibiotic, less growth regulator, and more phenolic compounds. So let's say a functional food, we can call it. More mineral, less synthetic, and more fatty acid and vitamin C. Of course, the amount of paper about this issue are not so huge compared to, for example, soil fertility, biodiversity. There are several important studies. One of the most important for me is the French study that is called Nutrinet, that compare from 10 years, 2009, 2016, 19, 70,000 volunteers of consumer that eat organic and conventional, and they found great evidence about cancer. So they had, for example, 25 less likely percentage to to become ill in cancer, in particular the breast and the lymphoma. You can find the paper published in JAMA, that is a journal about medical. I will not talk about legislation because I'm quite sure that you will have further course about it. Anyhow, what maybe I just want to mention is that in general, at least in Europe, but worldwide, there is a lot of label and somehow not confusion, but it's not 100% easy to detect. Anyhow, is the only agro-food system that is certified with a very clear standard. And apart the third-party external certification, we have the internal control system, that is the second part, and the first participatory guarantee system that in India is very spread, as far as I know. So I would be also happy to hear from you about it, because as far as I know from PGS, India together with Brazil is the one more developed in participatory guarantee system. Agroecology seems to be efficient also from the economic point of view, and we have published a paper very recently. I conclude, because my topic was to compare organic and conventional, showing you a paper I published together with Alexander Vedze, so you can find in literature. We compare the European organic certification and regulation with the IFOM international with agroecology approach. And in this paper, we have highlighted that agroecology in general are somehow more have a larger focus on socioeconomic approach, And in particular, there are some differences in practice. Let's say in European, what they have in common, similar practice are minimum tillage, soil fertility and fertilization practice, as well as a very important focus on local choice and for variety and crop rotation. Maybe some differences is in the improving intercropping, in management in landscape, and also in water and agroforestry. For example, in organic European approach, those aspects are not developed. And there are some difference in particular in animal, very much in animal, let's say in agroecology is not so detailed. In organic, in particular European certification, animal husbandry have a very detailed legislation. Okay, I don't have much more time to talk about the practice, but I think I have generally already, oh, sorry, where we are. Excuse me, I don't know how to open again. Oh my God, where I don't know how to go back, excuse me.
Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is visible, ma'am. Carry on, please.
I'm visible?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I don't know, I hope I have, I didn't, anyhow, if you have any question, I'm able to answer.
Yeah, sure. Video.
Hello, Paula. Thank you very much. You have covered a lot of area of interest, because what I understand, agroecology principles are very must when we have to have a sustainable organic farming or organic agriculture system. We are very much thankful to you that you have shared a lot of your research evidences with all the participants. They must be very delighted to hear you. So now the topic is open for discussion, and you please answer the questions of the participants, if any.
So, ma'am, there are so many questions in chat box, and we have selected one or two. So, accordingly, I request Dr. Harshavardhan Deshmukh just to ask the questions. Accordingly, you can just answer the same, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Nitin. So first question is there any method for making organic hormones apart from vermiwash for inducing good crop growth?
I'm not 100% sure to have understood. You are talking about vermicompost?
Yeah.
Okay. Role of biodecomposer. Well, in agroecology do not have a so detailed, how can I say, differentiation of organic decomposition method. Let's say the master is that we have to improve soil life and so organic matter and decomposition, the role of decomposer that are fungi, bacteria, microorganisms in general. But there are no, how can I say, improved technology that are somehow are the similar of organic. I would not say that there is distinction in this. But there is an important focus, on the return of organic matter into the soil, as it is for organic, I must say.
Thank you.
Again, one question is there, ma'am. Is there any formulation to control airborne disease on various field crops? Any formulation to control airborne disease?
For disease. Again, the most important focus for agroecology is to reestablish an equilibrium inside the farm. So through wide crop rotation and diversity at all levels, from soil, seed, mixture, no tillage, development of beneficial insect space, no, and environment. And so basically, I can show you some additional picture, but just to be very, very fast. Where can I? Sei in condivisione schermo. Okay, so you are seeing my screen. Just a moment. For example, in this picture, there was, this is a Miguel Altieri experiment. For example, no, even a monocrop you can develop with diversity, okay, at all level. And in particular, in the, for example, no, in both herbaceous or even in large farm like this. Here is Isla Blanca in Argentina, South America. This guy, this farmer that have 2,000 hectares, so it's not a small farm, it's a huge farm. But anyhow, it's possible to develop diversity with, for example, strips intercropping. Okay, and there are other, other example in the field. No, so instead of having a monocrop, we need to break monoculture in order to host beneficial insects. So when we harvest the field, the farmer are still, the insect can still live there. Indigenous breed, cow, indigenous breed, Dauda and Gurinbang. We don't prefer exogenous breed cow. Is really there and different in these two. Okay, I'm indigenous breed. Yeah, I totally agree. Let's say also in agroecology, the approach is to have local breeds and not to establish, so like in the livestock approach, this is the approach. So to have an integrated system of vegetables and animal, where there is as much as possible an integration between animal and cropping system, so that the soil becomes again very, very flower. And this can be a different kind, not only cow, can be chicken. You can move the chicken around in open air, so to improve synergies. But I agree with you that it's much important if you have the animal in the farm, so that you can also spread the compost and compost the manure in a proper way.
The last question, chat box.
One question from chat box is there. Does the emission of carbon dioxide in organic treated plots works under the fundamental principles of agroecology?
No, I would say it's the same. In organic, there are already a lot of published scientific paper that demonstrate that in the long term, carbon sequestration and the carbon cycle is very positive. So we can basically, if we would transform again all agriculture into organic, we would have zero emission of carbon. This is already somehow proved. And the agroecological approach is even more severe in that, because, for example, with the zero tillage or sod seeding, we reduce a lot the mineralization process of the soil, no? Because the mineralization, the emission of carbon is basically the decomposition of organic matter from the soil into the air, no? Into gas. If we keep the soil cover, we reduce a lot mineralization. It's called conservation agriculture, but without glyphosate, without use of chemical weeding. Okay, it's just sod seeding with a machine that is called rotative tiller. Anyhow, it's a machine that controls the weeds and seed directly. So you don't need any glyphosate.
Thank you. Yes, with the permission of coordinator, I would like to ask my question. And your presentation has created a lot of research issues for us. So thank you very much for that. So as far as sustainability is concerned, a balance of you have shown one paper of planetary boundary, right? Planetary boundary. And as far as sustainability is concerned, the balance of biogeochemical cycles are very important to achieve the sustainability. And I trust food web is very, very important for that. Now my question is, what approach we should adopt to develop food web in agriculture to achieve the sustainability?
For me to develop agroecology everywhere. No, let's say it's not just a matter of, not a slogan, yeah, the importance of close the cycle of carbon, nitrogen, no? Hydrogeological cycle. At the moment we are in agriculture, we are producing pollution, and agriculture can uptake nutrients, can reverse the ecological services, improving nitrogen, carbon, and the other. So in the future of agriculture, the scenario could be that also potash become a limiting factors because with the acidification of the soil, no, is not anymore available. As agronomists, we know. But on the other hand, we need to improving organic matter. We also make phosphate more available, more soluble. So there is, let's say, I think that doing agroecological practice, we can reverse the system boundaries. We can produce more biodiverse and improve the livelihood. The very important problem, at least for Europe, is to again keep young farmer in the rural area. But we are seeing some very nice and innovative farm that with modern technology do agroecology in a good way. This is something very, very promising for me.
Yeah, ma'am, Mr. K. Ramesh has raised his hand. So I request Mr. K. Ramesh to ask question, please. Mr. K. Ramesh. He is from Hyderabad, India. So Ramesh, please.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, please.
Madam, actually, in the agro ecosystem, there are millions of microbes. How much this biodynamic preparation at minimal quantity can influence the agro ecosystem? Actually, the recommendation is 2.5 hectare. For example, in case of BD 501 or 502, how best this can improve the agro ecosystem microbial diversity? Can you throw some light on this?
I'm not sure to have understood. So the biodynamic approach. Excuse me, can somebody else?
Ramesh.
Yes.
Can you just go to isolated place because the background voice is making a hurdle?
Okay. 1 minute. I am coming. Actually, this biodynamic preparation BD 500 to 505, whatever we recommend, the dosage is too low. It's only 2.5 gram per hectare. My question is, in the agro ecosystem, we have millions of microbes. How best this minimal quantity can influence the microbial diversity in the agro ecosystem?
Okay, now I got your point.
Is it clear?
Yeah, now I understood. The answer is that I don't know. Let's say I don't have a scientific evidence of that.
Okay.
What I can share with you is that FIBO, the research center in Switzerland, did a long-term 25-year studies that is published in Nature, the most important journal. They compare in plots, not in farm, but in plots, small plots, conventional farm manure with organic manure with biodynamic 505 preparation, and they published that in that soil, in the biodynamic soil, they have higher arthropods, higher spider, higher microorganisms, higher yield, better structure of the soil, and so on and so forth. Of course, we as scientists, let's say, I can't give you at the moment the same answer of Rudolf Steiner because I have another scientific approach. But the results seems that biodynamic approach is really increasing soil fertility. Okay.
Okay, now I'm request Dr. Wasim, please. This is last question, ma'am. This Dr. Wasim.
because I have to go.
Hi, Paula, ma'am. How are you? Yeah, actually, my question is related to agroecology. As we in India, we are having a very small land holdings, like 2 hectares. Average land holding. Our farmers are small and marginal. So, how can we create a agroecological system in these small land holdings, and how it is sustainable for Indian environment? This is my question, ma'am. Yeah.
Well, let's say I can imagine because I haven't been in your area, but anyhow, that everywhere, small farm, the most difficult part is the economic. So how to live in 2 hectares with a family producing a diverse income that not sustain the whole family. This is generally the main issue. What I answer is that with agroecology, first of all, the farmer should become a little bit more empowered of their own choice. Not to, because with 2 hectares, you can't produce intensive, intensive, for example, cereal or staple food for the gross market. It's not at all renewable. It's not at all, it doesn't make earn a living. So what we need to do is more or less, the picture I showed you before, I don't know, it's just an idea. I don't want to be silly, but this picture about the farm polyculture, the polyculture approach, where the farms can have more or less all they need in a polyculture, classical agroforestry approach. So we have some gardens, some animal, some cereals, some fresh fruit, timber, and so on and so forth. It is not old style. This is not old style, because with some technology and some also scientific knowledge, we can produce good yield in this situation. I'm not saying that we have to go to return to the past, not at all. Is an organic so stable for the long term? Sustainability means basically that the system is resilient in the long term. If I use massive agrochemicals, even maybe a little bit of chemicals, I'm not blame. I mean, it's not organic, but maybe again at the initial step of the conversion, farms need to change a little bit. Then they learn that manure and organic input is very important to restore the equilibrium within the farm. This is my answer.
Okay, thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's our great privilege that we have listened last 2 hours you have spared for we people. And this is Dr. Nitin Konde. I was just disturbing actually since last 1 month to you for your precious time. So thank you very much for joining this meeting, and definitely in future also we expect the same cooperation from you and your colleagues too. And actually this is our team. I hope you must be watching this team particularly, and before your session was start, Dr. Yogesh Ingre, who is a plant pathologist, I think he's just adjacent to me. I hope you must have watched his video regarding the trichoderma.
Okay.
So university has started Center for Organic Agriculture Research and Training in 2010, and we are conducting many activities under this particular umbrella, and we have put MOUs with some international organizations, and I hope in future too the person like you will definitely help us to go just ahead on the agroecology as well as the conservation agricultural practices. And thanks a lot again for your most precious time. And again, in future, we'll just definitely contact you for further more programs. So thanks a lot.
Have a nice training, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now, friends, again, this was the session for Dr. Paula, and I hope you must have enjoyed the same. Again, in the evening, we'll have a very precious lecture by Dr. Andrew. I'm a Mr. from Canada, so I request all the participants just to join by 7:15, because the lecture will sharply start at 7:30 in the evening, and again it will just go on up to say 8:30 or 8:45. So I request all the participants be attentive and just be there by 7:15. The link will be shared, I think, with you. If not, we'll share the link right now. So see you soon at evening, and good day for further. Thank you very much.